Hey everybody, it's Father Edward Looney here, and I want to share with you about a project that I am starting to work on now that my license thesis is finished. And it really stems from a YouTube video that I recorded and released a few years ago when I was driving through Wisconsin towards Iowa. I went through a little town called Necedah. And I stopped by this sign about a Marian shrine. It is a shrine for a 1950s Marian apparition. And basically, I stood at the sign and I said, "Don't visit here. Your Catholic sensibility might suggest you want to." But the church has looked at these apparitions and said they are not worthy of belief. Now, at the time, I didn't know how widely received this video was going to be. I was kind of unaware about how many Necedah followers there are. That video has been watched quite a bit. I've been disparaged in the comments by individuals. And so that really has inspired me to say, well, let me take a look at these apparitions in Necedah. I'm a Marian theologian. I actually have specialized in studying Marian apparitions. I'm known for some of my work with Marian apparitions. So a lot of times at talks, people will ask me about Our Lady of Necedah, and I'll just give kind of the blanket statement because a number of years ago, I requested a statement from the Diocese of La Crosse, and they sent me a handful of literature. And essentially just saying this is a Marian apparition that is not approved. The bishops have always made a statement against it, etc., etc. So I'm not really sure if there actually has been some sort of research or conclusive document. Like, I can't find that. And I thought, well, I'm willing to spend my time, my energy. I'm willing to think about these things and do my own study of the apparitions of Necedah. And so I'll operate from the supposition that, well, the church has said these apparitions are not worthy of belief. So now what am I doing? Well, first of all, a number of years ago at a Marian talk I gave, I mentioned Necedah and how it wasn't approved by the church. And so someone there gave me the Revelations of Necedah. Now, look at how thick this is. This is like as thick as the Divine Mercy Diary. It's over 600 pages. I am currently making my way through it. I'm only at page 39. I read about 5 to 10 pages a day. And I'm reading these messages, but then it seems, my understanding is that it's kind of the messages that Marianne Van Hoof, the visionary, received, but then there's also just kind of some teachings that she gave and thoughts and musings of Marianne Van Hoof. That's what I'm gathering as I'm reading this. So I am doing research. I want to let people know this about the Necedah apparition. I found already in 33 pages, 39 pages, something very interesting. And it's about the apparition in the Philippines, Our Lady of Lipa. Again, another apparition not favorably received by the church. And so, married to Marianne Van Hoof, in the alleged messages, references Our Lady of Lipa. So that is going to be a springboard to me saying, well, I need to look at Lipa. I need to know more about Lipa. And so I hope to produce a video series. I hope to do a document, something. I'm going to put something out there that is going to be sharing about Necedah and my own findings, my own study, my own thoughts as I make my way through the revelations and messages. Now, I want to share with you kind of this funny little story, and maybe funny isn't the right word, but a number of years ago, I always use that phrase, a number of years ago, but a number of years ago, probably about 6, 7, maybe even 10 years ago, I was at the Milwaukee airport. And I think it was at a time where I didn't have really much income. I must have been a seminarian. This is what I'm thinking, that I didn't really have a salary because I can't fathom why I wouldn't have bought these books otherwise. So I'm at the Milwaukee airport, and before you go into security or as you come out of the airport into the area where you would go and get your luggage on that level, there's a used bookstore. And I thought, oh, I'll go in there one day. So I went in there 7, 10 years ago, and I looked around and I saw 2 books about Necedah. And I thought to myself in that moment that I should have bought them, but I didn't. And again, I think it must have been I couldn't afford them or something. So I just left them there. But as I've been talking about Necedah and as I made that video a few years ago, I often would tell people the biggest regret of my life was not buying those books on Necedah, because now I don't even know what was in those books. I don't know what those books were or anything like that. And so again, this is many years ago, 7, 10 years ago, that I looked at the bookshelf, the religion bookshelf, saw these 2 volumes about Necedah. Just a few weeks ago, in one of my travels, I was flying into the Milwaukee airport. It was a Saturday morning. It was 11 o'clock when I landed. Typically, when I fly out of Milwaukee, it's like a 5 a.m. flight, 6 a.m. The bookstore's not open. Or if I'm flying back in, it's always like 11 o'clock, the last flight. The bookstore's not open. So in 7 to 10 years, I've never had the opportunity to go back in that bookstore and see if I could buy those books. Now, I've driven through Milwaukee a number of times and actually had entertained the thought of stopping and maybe buying those books, but I never did. So Saturday, one of these Saturdays a few months ago, I land at the Milwaukee airport. I'm like, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to go into that bookstore. And I knew exactly what turn to make, how to get to the religion section. I remembered exactly where it was in the store. And I look at the shelves, and they're kind of like 2 or 3 books deep on the shelf. And so I'm looking at the shelf, and lo and behold, My Work with Necedah by Henry Swan, Volume 1 and 2. My Work with Necedah, Henry Swan, Volume 3 and 4. So the very books that I remembered from 7 to 10 years ago were there at the Milwaukee airport 7 to 10 years later. So no one ever looked at that shelf and said, I want to buy those books. They were always there. The bookstore never went through the shelves and said, maybe we should just discard or get rid of or move these books on to a different inventory store or whatever. And so there they were at the exact moment in my life right now as a theologian that I want to study the apparitions of Necedah and understand why the church approved them or whatever. So I just want to let you know, to all my detractors out there who commented on that video, that it is my intention to study Necedah. It is my intention to do further work and to share the fruit of that work with all of you. And I just thought I'd check in. It's something I've been promising for a long time, but I've always had all these projects kind of over my head. I was working on a license in sacred theology, and I just finished that license. Done with the thesis, passed the exam. And what I found now is that's very liberating. Because if I would have started working on this a year ago, I would have been thinking in my head, I need to be reading about St. Bernard of Clairvaux and Aelred of Rievaulx and their Marian homilies. But now, with that done, I'm able to pick this book up and think to myself, I'm free to do this academic research that I want to do right now about the alleged apparition of Our Lady at Necedah. So stay tuned. I would say sometime in 2023, you can expect something about Necedah to hit this channel. I do envision that there's going to be videos. I also envision that there's going to be a document I write, maybe publish in an academic journal. So stay tuned is really what I have to say. And grateful you tuned in. And if you're interested about Necedah, know that I am too. And I want to know the church's position, and I want to understand it. Because so often we are told something, but maybe we don't understand really underneath it. And that's what I want to do in this investigative work about Our Lady of Necedah. Thanks so much. May God bless you, and may Mary pray for you.